Welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is the Reverend Jennifer Innis. It is my great joy to be the minister with this congregation of people of all ages, of all stages of life. We live into our mission of embracing freedom, loving inclusively, growing in mind, body, and spirit, and adding to the wholeness and the healing of the world. And what we mean with that is that we celebrate good things whenever we can. We provide opportunities to strengthen relationships, and we want people to grow as individuals and as a community as a whole on every scale. We want to live a better life in this life. We recognize the range of human diversity in race, culture, mental and physical ability, economics, politics, sexual orientation, gender expression, and social location. And we also take to heart our connection with the world. This is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. The Peoria people and many other nations were here long before the first European settlers came down the Illinois River. So we take a moment in our service to honor the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. I want to take a moment to thank folks for joining us. Especially if you're joining us kind of for the first time or are new to joining us. It is no small thing to come into an established community and say hi and how can we get to know and just to show up with each other. So thank you for finding us, and we have plenty of name tags. We love all the questions, and please, after service, come and join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall, or if you're joining us online, there's a little conversation on Zoom as well. And let me invite folks at this moment to just check for where your devices are. Are they in worship mode? Always good to double check. And we have a few notes for today, a little guide on our tech ministry as well. We have a few notes for today. Today is Girl Scout Sunday. Scouts from our congregation are selling cookies in Fellowship Hall during coffee hour. Come on, you know you want a cookie. Or maybe more than one box of cookies. I'm just saying. Jesse, is this about the end of the cookie sale season? Wrapping up. So if you haven't gotten it yet, this is the moment. Also, right after service is if you have been thinking about joining as a member of the congregation, if you want to know more about membership a little, or want to have some conversation about how to get connected, please see Regina Stanley, our membership coordinator, or me right after the service. We'll be talking about that. If you're wanting to be join at that point, we'll also be happy to help facilitate that. And I'm so glad it's such a beautiful day today, because today at 12:30, we'll be talking about composting with Greg Barta and Robert Rowe. Yes, including little worms. There are going to be little worms. It's so cute. All right. That'll be in Fellowship Hall and also outside a little bit later. And let me take a moment to invite you all. Please be sure to join us next Sunday for the service. We'll be talking about kind of our shared ministry in many ways. And after the service, there will be some cake in celebration of the 25th anniversary of my ordination. You must come have cake, I'm just saying, and just join us as well. So next Sunday, please. And in 2 weeks, I hear there is an auction. And maybe we'll let the auction people say something about that auction.
It's not working. Good morning. As you know, my name is Karen Zichterman, and I am one of the
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start our auction off with this beautiful 24-inch diameter peace symbol, 4.5-inch cardboard made in America, and emblazoned in a beautiful sky blue or Democrat blue if you choose. We're going to start the bidding, and there's no price on peace, but we are going to put a price on peace today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to hear a bid at $100. Can I get $100? Anyone? $100, $100. And we can go to $200 on this beautiful pizza. $200. We have $200 over there. $200. Can we see $300, sir? Can we see $300? Come on, it's for the church. $300, $300. Sir, what are you thinking? 400. Let's go 400. $400, ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. 500, 500. Going. You got 500? No. Okay, 500. Anyone else? 500. Going once, going twice. Sold to number 7, and the lady in the beautiful hat. There you go.
So, how fun was that? March 22nd, join us for the real auction. And it will be just as much fun. We're going to have a live auction with Steve as our auctioneer. We will have a silent auction around the room and potluck, lots of opportunities for fun adventures, maybe trying things you've never tried before. We're going to have meals with friends, with congregants. We're going to have dog training. We're going to offer piano lessons by our wonderful pianist and organist. Yes. We have so many interesting ways that you can explore your interests, and we'll have fun food too. So please join us March 22nd in the evening. Have fun. It's a fundraiser for the church. We have a pretty ambitious goal, and we would like to meet it. So thank you.
I do highly recommend enjoying the auction. It's such a great way to find and connect with people just for the evening itself. And then if you can participate in some of the different items and some of the gatherings, my daughter and I had a lovely chance to do watercolor lesson with Sandy Meskimen and Terry Malone at one of the last auctions. So I highly recommend. Please come and join us. Right. Now let us continue in our worship with our opening hymn, number 1012, When I Am Frightened, in the teal hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit. And let me invite Jean Burke forward for our opening words.
Begin Your Journey Home by Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. Come now, all who are broken and cracked, come to the place where your shattered pieces are the raw materials of mosaic and kintsugi. Here you will find welcome among the armless dolls and cozy pillow sweaters loved exactly as they are. Come now, all who are thirsty and burned, come to the place where cool waters and aloe soothe your bedraggled soul. Drink your fill and salve your skin. Then fill your canteen and return once more to the struggle, knowing the well will remain unobstructed. Come now, all who long for the stars, come to the place where that vision of infinity is written upon people's hearts. Hold it until you've memorized the way. Set your compass to point toward hope and begin your journey home.
And I'd like to invite our Girl Scouts to come forward and light the chalice.
Joy and grief,
health and sickness,
light and darkness,
peace and anger,
life and death.
wholeness and brokenness.
We each bring all of these here to this sanctuary in unity and
Diversity,
for this 1 hour in this one day,
and pour them out,
commingling the oil of our life,
to become the flame of this chalice.
the symbol of our shared living faiths.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our moment for entering into reflection, for candles, for contemplation. So during our music for meditation, you're welcome to come forward and light candles for what is in your mind and on your heart. You're welcome to come forward and light candles to expand the circle of care in this world. And if you're joining us online, let these candles be for you. Let us enter into our music for meditation. From the 20th century Jewish teacher Abraham Heschel. Prayer invites God to be present in our spirits and in our lives. Prayer cannot bring water to a parched land, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. Now is the time for the sharing of the joys and sorrows of the congregation. I offer a general note for those who are struggling with various health concerns in this time, some of which is keeping folks from coming to church or being out and about. We offer our wishes for recovery if that's on the road, for healing in whatever way is needed and wanted. And we offer also our care and love to those who are taking care of these people who are entrusted with these folks' well being. I also want to offer a note of reminder that next Saturday we are remembering one of our great elders in the congregation, Pat Harris, that her memorial service is Saturday morning, the 15th at 11:11 a.m. And if you want to know why, you have to come to the service. Because, of course, there's a story because it's Pat. So there's also going to be a bagpiper, too. I mean, you want to have that on your Saturday morning, so you must come to the service. And if Karen Zichterman and Bernie Humphrey need help, please say yes and help. We just say that? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Let me offer a prayer from my colleague, the Reverend Beth Monholland, down in Urbana-Champaign, that might speak to this time. It's called A Prayer for the Wasteful. Spirit of life and love, holy ember that burns in our deepest, darkest places, let us feel the warmth of our connections today. In the face of our human tendencies toward cruelty and our constant turning to isolation and disconnection, let us practice being unashamedly vulnerable, savagely soft. Let us love tenderly the parts of ourselves we reject and then project onto others. Let us remember that we're all made of water and stardust, and that all of us is hurt and healing, and that we can only do what it is in our control to do. So let us embrace all the embodied contradictions of the ever unfolding now of this holy, holy, burning world. And let us love with wide open, wanton indulgence each and every life we encounter, even when, especially when it is hard. May it be so. Let us hold one moment of quiet, recognizing that quiet is relative, but it can be in our hearts. Life is great and sometimes allowed, but we can hold one more moment of quiet in this time, pausing to breathe in this circle of care. I invite you to pause and breathe with me. Amen. Salam, shalom, and blessed be. I invite Jesse forward for our story. Do we have help? Do we have helpers today? All right.
Before our story today, I'd like to recognize the Girl Scouts in our congregation. These are just a few of them standing with me today. I suspect there's more than one Girl Scout in the audience as well. Has anybody been part of that organization? Well, you know what we say, once a Girl Scout, always a Girl Scout. I would like to invite our Girl Scouts to lead us in sharing the Girl Scout promise and Girl Scout law on Girl Scout Sunday for us.
On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to please my people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, responsible for what I say and do, respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, and make the world a better place, be a sister to every Girl Scout.
Thank you, Girl Scouts. I taught my Girl Scout troop how to say the Girl Scout law by a song, and now they're like, I can't say it. So, have you ever done something you wished you hadn't done? Or something that maybe hurt someone? And then you have to apologize? It can be hard to know how to apologize. So luckily, I found this handy guide, How to Apologize by David La Rochelle. Everyone makes mistakes. Whether you are big or small. And when you've made a mistake that hurt someone or something, the right thing to do is apologize. Ouch. Apologizing can be hard, especially if the other person is mad at you. Or if it's someone you don't like. But it is important to apologize, even if that person owes you an apology too. Your apology can be simple. You just tell the other person you're sorry for what you did. Not, well, I wanted to be much more careful, and I was trying to get this itch on my knee, and you should just say, I'm sorry I knocked you over. You should not make excuses. Be sincere. Mom told me I had to apologize for putting your doll in the fishbowl. That's not sincere. Haha, I'm sorry, I accidentally squirted you with garden hose. Also not sincere. Say, I'm sorry. I really am. You can apologize with a note. And even if the mistake happened a long time ago, you can still apologize. If possible, try to fix the mistake. Whole new roof. And if you can't, you can still say you're sorry and then take steps to avoid making that same mistake again. It might be difficult, but apologizing will make you feel better too. And most importantly, it will help the other person to feel better. And that is why we apologize. I wonder if any of you have had to do the hard thing and apologize. I wonder if some of these reminders would help. I invite the kids and volunteers to join me for religious education.
I think our little moment of impromptu Peoria players for the advertising for the auction is one of the many signs of how many people it takes and how much it really takes our collective effort to make the congregation happen. Let me tell you, it's good that we have many among us because it helps amplify our senses of humor, if nothing else. And this is a good thing. We also support the congregation in so many ways. And I love that we carry such a lightness and fullness of heart in doing so. And it's this congregation that supports itself by and large with pledges from our members and friends. But we also send a portion of that abundance out into the world through our Share the Plate practice. We send half of the undesignated offering to a local organization each month that upholds some of our values and really embraces service in the community. And this month, our offerings go to the East Bluff Community Center Food Pantry. And the East Bluff Community Center Food Pantry operates 4 Saturdays a month in the morning. Folks are able to select food, they're able to get a good meal and pick up their food on their way out. The community center also does wonderful events. It does movie nights, it has concerts, it has roller skating parties. I was just taking a look at their calendar this month. So I really want to recommend that. We really make a difference when we offer this, and it's supported simply by volunteers making this happen. So for our offering for this morning, please use the envelopes and indicate in the pews and indicate the purpose of your destination, or go to the QR code in the order of service. I want to thank you for all the ways that you support this congregation. It really makes a difference. It really makes us be able to do all these wonderful things together. And now I invite the ushers to please come forward. And I invite Judith Corrin Shanahan for our first reading.
Henry David Thoreau wrote, "There is no remedy for love but to love more." I'm sure that is what inspired Jan Richardson to write Blessing for the Brokenhearted. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have the pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating as if it were made precisely for this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless.
And I invite Jean Jost for our second reading.
Good morning. Francis Fry has offered us direction as to how to build and rebuild trust. Now, trust, if we're going to rebuild it, we have to understand its component parts. The component parts of trust are super well understood. There are three things about trust. If you sense that I am being authentic, you are much more likely to trust me. If you sense that I have real rigor in my logic, you are far more likely to trust me. And if you believe that my empathy is directed toward you, you are far more likely to trust me. Thus, the three things about trust are authenticity, rigorous logic, and personal empathy. When all three of these things are working, we have great trust. But if any one of these three gets shaky, if one of these three wobbles, trust is threatened. Now, if you would stand for the next hymn on page number 18, What Wondrous Love.
In thinking about the theme of trust for this month, I certainly had to spend a moment on repair, on when trust is broken, and had to think about what are the models for that. Last year in our Unitary Versalist Association Common Read, we worked with On Repentance and Repair by Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg. She offered a Maimonides method for achieving reconciliation, for offering, for asking for forgiveness, for our relationship for forgiveness. But for this service, I want to begin with something a little bit more mundane, which is This Old House. So the TV show, in case you don't know, this is a TV show from public broadcasting out of Boston, and started, like 4 decades ago? Like a long time ago, right? And on this show, a small, kind of modest venture out of Boston, it brought together skilled professionals in woodworking, plumbing, landscaping, general contracting, and much more. They worked with local owners to address problems in, yes, these old houses. And when they were deconstructing a space, one particular space, or perhaps an entire house, they would talk about the challenges, the history, perhaps, of the location, the surprises that came up along the way that led to changes in direction, and trying to manage the cost of everything. Most projects had a history lesson or two in the course of it, whether it was the location, the history of the house itself, or in an episode I saw recently, I think it had nearly every generation of electricity wiring in the one house. Oh, yeah, knob and tube on forward. Oh my gosh, it's really good they took that back to the studs. So we saw, those of us who watched this saw the dismantling and the disruption each week. And then we witnessed the slow reconstruction, the slow improvement, the gradual work that went into the structure. How much work went into the structure? Could be the roof, it could be sealing the bathroom and the shower, it could be in the heating system and the cooling and the electricity. Enormous amounts of labor that would never be visible, but simply were part of the integration of this structure then. And then would create a place where folks could live and grow and hopefully thrive in their lives. There could be, I think there could be, I don't know if people have done this, I haven't looked on YouTube or whatever. I think there could be an entire subgenre within the This Old House decades of how they made foundations happen by itself. If anybody's had to deal with foundation work, you know how much digging is involved, how much measuring, how much care, how challenging, and the engineering that is involved. Just the foundations would be a whole sub-thread for the This Old House community. You had these massive works that then would result in peaceful lawns and walks and beautiful shrubbery without any idea of what was below that earth. And so things came together. As they came together, there was a certain joy, a certain relief, a certain satisfaction of the job well done, and also a certain peace in different measures from the owners. And I will grant, as I watch some of these homes, there is an enormous amount of privilege. Absolutely, to be fair, to be sure. My spouse and I would look at these projects and be like, oh, that looks great. Not in my lifetime, but that looks great. We love watching. But what also This Old House did was branch out into improving a lot of different kinds of properties, preservation of beautiful historic structures that really meant something as well. It wasn't simply for aesthetics or simply for someone's pleasure. There was meaning in the work too. They went across the country, so had moments, I think, such as working in, say, Detroit or Louisiana, where they brought out the highlighting the racial and the class challenges of the communities in which they were working and which they were partnering with people in order to create beautiful refreshing of the community and development in places that had been impoverished and ignored by capitalism and empire, frankly. And these people who started with this, the men, if you will, who started with this show have grown, many have retired, and a newer, more diverse generation of hosts is now taking up the reins as well. There is a dedicated channel on Pluto for This Old House. You could have it just 24-hour This Old House. I admit that's where I've been going for a little comfort watching. I listen to it when I want the comforting sound. Oh, Boston. Oh, the sound is real. But also when I want to see people who care about creating good things in the world and not a lot of drama. The construction offers plenty. The workers in this old house, they completed small, repetitive tasks, knowing that it would add up to quality and stability. There was a brush stroke and a nail and a careful measure before cutting the plywood. There was precision when digging out a foundation. These small moments kept adding up again and again. I'm thinking about when trust is broken. I'm going to make an educated guess, and that probably each of us knows how that feels. I know for me, it can feel like this deep body blow, this deep jolt to the heart, and then flush everywhere. So perhaps when it can feel like a hit to the self, there's something to having an embodied model of repair, like this old house. Writer Marilyn Robinson says, "It is trust that knits up the world, a stuff particularly liable to fraying and raveling." It is trust that knits up the world, a stuff particularly liable to fraying and raveling. You could ask the question, have you had your heart broken? But that would be rhetorical. Because the experience of breaking trust, of being heartbroken, is part of our human experience. There are so many ways in which we harm others, in which others hurt us. It can be based in relationships, it can be based in trust of every level. Be with parents, be with neighbors, friends, members of our family, people who might say one thing, profess one thing, and then act completely opposite of it. It could be very much trust broken in our institutions, especially religious bodies that preach love and then condemn people to eternal damnation, or preach love and then say, no, you are not welcome. You are not recognized. You are not holy. You are not a child of God because you haven't met certain standards. But we're going to still talk about love. It could be within our government, as we are experiencing now. It could be in our government well before January 20th. It could be small things that break us, that harm us, that are among us, that we do to others. It could be tiny things, something ignored, a call not returned, a greeting not exchanged. It could be massive, life-altering losses of an illness, of a death, of an accident. could be the trauma that never leaves, a deep loss that is permanent and simply gets life enfolded around it but never goes away. We know the breaking of trust and the loss of being able to count on something is not a one time experience, but has the gall to happen again and again. I want to offer it is entirely fine if, in course of talking about the breaking of trust and contemplating what rebuilding might be like, but especially about the breaking, if if there's moments rising up for you that distract you from being present, I get that that's inevitable at times. This is a place where things will rise, where things can rise, including what is hurt. And sometimes this can be the only place where that vulnerability feels like it's allowed. So I invite you that it's okay and come back to the sermon when you're ready. I really hope, if nothing else, I really hope that I do not, when somebody has expressed that something has pained them, something has hurt them, and especially if I have done it, that I don't tell people to just get over it. Because this pain is subjective and it's not something that one can measure or simply say, this is the timeline and otherwise you should be done. You know how hard it is to repair when something has been broken. My colleague, the Reverend Dennis McCarty has a piece. I offer an excerpt on his piece, Thoughts on Second Chances. He talks of the trust torn between Adam and Eve and God in the book of Genesis when they go against God's one boundary and eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. So after they eat from this tree, this fruit, Adam and Eve are expelled from the garden by God and given the burden of mortality and the pains that come with being human. My colleague says, Adam and Eve teach us something important, that deep love and trust can expose a doorway to intractable sin. In a deep relationship, there can come a time when you learn something about the one you love, something you never wanted to learn, and that you can never unlearn. That where love runs deep and trust runs deep, hurt can also run ever so deep. And so God loved Adam and Eve, but they sinned against God. Or wait a minute, didn't they love God? And didn't God sin against them? And it was both. And if we could just die then and there in that miserable moment of undesired revelation, that would be ever so much easier than going on. Just crawl up and die. Alas, life was not designed to let us off without our share of heartbreak. There are no second chances. That is, not until someone creates one. Together, both of us, ex nihilo. And if you think it was something, God forming Adam and Eve out of clots of blood or bits of mud or dust of the earth, or whatever wasn't there until the divine willed it into being, that was an easy miracle compared with our humanity and what that demands. Remake love out of what we just learned about each other. Tame two hearts gone feral with hurt and fear. Find our key to a door that's become stone. Unseal a wall when a wall is all that remains of our wounded love. Mythology is so much easier than surgery. Mythology is so much easier than surgery, than a sincere apology that might make a difference, than wishing to take back an action, than reconciling with the enormity of failure in our systems or more uncomfortably in us. That revelation that we cannot unlearn or take back. We might have to admit that we hurt someone, that we strayed or ignored or simply didn't care in that moment, that we weren't as good or moral or mature as we think we are. And we keep learning that lesson again and again, no matter how much we commit to doing better. Repeat and repeat in different ways or the same way. But at some point, there will be a desire for care again, a desire to try again, a desire to try and rebuild. I was looking at Frances Fry's How to Build and Rebuild Trust. And she talks, it seems compact. If you're going to rebuild it, then be authentic. Have real rigor in the thought and logic of it. Have real empathy towards the person. It seems like a nice recipe, right? Blueprints for construction and reconstruction. It is deceptively challenging. But I do think one of the pieces that's at the beginning of rebuilding of trust is to recognize the value and the place of empathy. Because in this conversation and this looking up and talking about rebuilding of trust and talking about Danya Ruttenberg's work and the path of Maimonides, where it takes real ownership is the first step in reconciliation, in repentance, in the conversations, both political and social, in this moment about who's being attacked, who has laws being based against them, and so on. It seems that empathy is so much at the heart of any reconstruction of trust. Empathy of seeing a person, a being, as truly, actually human, as seeing ourselves as worthy, as really committing to recognizing each human being as a being, no matter who they are, no matter where they're stationed, no matter what their mental or health condition, and more. We have this lack of trust in institutions because we've had this repeated experience of being treated as nothing, as a number or not even a thing to pay attention to. I think the basis of reconstruction is this empathy. I saw this again. I've been in a few conversations about race and violence and poverty in Peoria in this past year. Some of those conversations have been really painfully honest and really hard to hear. Simply saying, as someone like myself, a white, middle-class person showing up, and simply saying, I'm here and I want to listen and I'm committing to be here, can end up being, as a person, receiving a measure of the rage and the frustration that is known by so many of the people in this community. And it is brutal. It is deeply uncomfortable. It is painful and traumatic in itself. And hearing those deep stories is something that is given and not lightly. Because the person sharing that story has also had enough experience with the fact that white folks can get up and leave. White folks get a choice about when to engage, by and large. No wonder someone like me is not just embraced, right? Oh, you want to help? Come on over. I don't have to stay there. I don't have to live there. I don't have to suffer and observe the suffering of the people and the neighbors and the children because of what is endured every day, because there is such a lack of empathy. There is such deep bias. There is so few resources. struggle with race and poverty comes again and again. People might make an effort, and then it fizzles because of differences and disagreements, and because it is such a systemic and large problem. And then the people directly involved, directly impacted, who have to go back to their communities and continue to live in the struggle, don't want to risk being part of the next effort because nothing's going to happen. And then that breaks the trust even further and makes the divisions even deeper. It makes it even more difficult because it feels like trying is just going to make it worse. But I did see another opportunity recently. There was a conversation on Thursday over at Reachway Church on unpacking homelessness in Peoria. And it included people from this area as well as organizers and direct service providers from Chicago. It was a panel of conversation. Some of those questions were really difficult to ask, and some of them were really difficult to hear. And a lot of the answers were the same conversation again and again. We have no resources. How do you expect people to get to a place on time when they don't have a watch or a clock, when they don't have a way to keep themselves clean and safe and whole, even when they've tried? One of the takeaways from that conversation was how much it meant when people showed up and demonstrated genuine care and stayed there and stayed caring and kept going back again and again. How much consistent care really made a difference in demonstrating that these people really saw the people in need as fully human. How much it meant and means for people to believe in one another, for somebody to believe in people who are so deep in the struggle of addiction, of mental illness, of not being able to get the care they need, to simply be loved, that showing up was love in very practical terms, and showing up every time, not treating people as optional. So maybe some of these challenges are so deep and so hard. Maybe we're not always going to get to those every day, but this conversation about homelessness, I think it could help. I think it could be really powerfully transformative. I want to encourage us to find those places where we could make a difference, when we could show up consistently. One of the pieces of that method of how to rebuild trust was very much about empathy and authenticity. And it must be grounded, very well grounded, both in humility, in recognizing how much each one of us has contributed to the concerns, has not taken our own measure and reflected before we went out and tried to be helpful to someone. And recognizing that repair, brokenness is not on a particular timeline either. Yeah, the money that Lula received from the city just ran out at the end of February last week. But the problem goes far past any particular calendar date. Moving at the speed of trust, as we say, is not a quick fix. It comes at its own speed. It's not linear. It is its own time and path. My mental image for this service was that of a torn heart, something stretched and distorted from tearing. And unlike so many images of mended hearts that you could go online and check that out, those with stitches that go all the way up and mend the heart, as if the work was complete, as if it was done. So the image of my mind is one of just beginning, of the torn heart that is a little bit distorted, is just the stitch at the bottom of it. So I wonder, can we Where can we find the way to mend and add that first stitch? Start with that bit, that first increment of repair, and keep it intact. I'd say that empathy would be an enormous way to begin. Adding that first bit of glue and gold, as in the Japanese practice of kintsugi, of mending and applying a little bit of fixative and a little bit of the shine, not to hide, but to acknowledge that this is simply a start. So a heart torn with a dab of gold and glue at the base of the tear, could that be the place to begin, grounded well in empathy? I recognize that fixing a home, fixing many things can seem easy, whether it's stage construction, whether it's this old house. But as my colleague Dennis McCarty says, fixing relationship seems easier in mythology than in reality sometimes. In humans, we can't do anything but try and come from love and marvel, as we heard in Jan Richardson's readings. Just take heart from the fact that the heart keeps beating. Because then perhaps that beginning can remind us that we are worth the effort, that we are worth trying again when we mess up, when we are hurt by others. As Marilyn Robinson said, it is trust that knits up the world, stuff particularly liable to fraying and raveling. So let us go forth, trusting in the beating of our hearts, grounded in the empathy that is one of our great strengths and can let us begin again and again in a wounded and torn world. So may it be. Please rise and body your spirit for our closing hymn, number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, in the gray hymnal.
Here and Beyond These Walls by Craig Rowland. As we extinguish this chalice flame, may the warmth of its light remain within us, guiding our steps and our hearts. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way.
May we remember that trust, like love, grows in the small moments, in promises kept, in confidences held, in boundaries respected and amends made, in showing up again and again. May we be brave enough to risk trust, patient enough to build it slowly, and gentle with ourselves and others when it breaks. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.